Narrator, for 10 years. The greatest army in the world threw itself against the walls of Troy. They had the strongest warriors, the sharpest bronze, the favor of the gods. They had Achilles, a man who was practically a living weapon. And for 10 years, they failed. Narrator, the war wasn't ended by the strongest sword. It was ended by a hollow piece of wood. It wasn't won by a demigod's rage. It was won by an idea. A lie. So audacious, so brilliant, that it turned an entire army into a single, deadly key, used to unlock a city that could not be broken by force. Briefly appears on screen and fades. Narrator, this was the signature of one man.
A king from a rocky, insignificant island. A man the ancient Greeks didn't just call a hero, they gave him a special name. Polytropos. The man of twists and turns.
The man of many ways. The master of cunning. Odysseus. His entire life is a testament to one of the most powerful truths in human history. Brute force has a ceiling. Raw power can be exhausted. It can be outmaneuvered. It can be broken. But intelligence, strategy, cunning, that is the force multiplier that changes the world. Visuals. A montage juxtaposing ancient and modern challenges. Odysseus navigating a storm-tossed sea cuts to a modern entrepreneur navigating a volatile stock market chart. Odysseus facing the one-eyed Cyclops cuts to a person preparing for a difficult negotiation with a powerful boss. Narrator, this isn't just an ancient myth, it's a blueprint. A practical guide to navigating a world where your biggest challenges aren't walls of stone, but intricate problems, difficult people, and your own internal limitations. The same art of cunning that allowed Odysseus to topple an empire, outsmart monsters, and find his way home against all odds, is the same art you can use to conquer your own giants. So, what was his secret? It wasn't magic. It was a repeatable, learnable system of thinking. In this video, we will deconstruct the mind of the ultimate survivor. We will break down the 3 core pillars of Odyssean intelligence, and show you how to apply this ancient art to win the battles that truly matter in your life. Forget being the strongest person in the room. It's time to learn how to be the smartest. Narrator, the first pillar is the most famous, the one that built the Trojan horse. It is the art of framing the battlefield. Narrator, when Odysseus was trapped in the cave of the Cyclops, brute force was a death sentence. The monster was a literal giant. To fight him head-on was suicide. And Achilles would have charged, and died. But Odysseus didn't see a monster to be fought, he saw a system to be manipulated. He didn't attack the Cyclops' strength. He attacked his mind. First, he gave him a gift, strong, unwatered wine. He softened the target. Then, when the Cyclops asked his name, he didn't give a threat. He gave a piece of misdirection. My name, he said, is nobody. Narrator, only then, after the mental trap was set, did he strike physically. And when the other Cyclops rushed to the cave, hearing the screams, they asked, "Who is hurting you?" Polyphemus, and the giant could only scream back the truth Odysseus had given him. Nobody is hurting me. Nobody is killing me. Narrator, he won before the fight even began. This is the essence of framing the battlefield. Before you engage in a conflict, a negotiation, or a difficult conversation, you must control the narrative. Don't accept the terms as they are presented to you. Reframe them. Narrator, don't ask for a raise because you deserve it. Frame the conversation around the future value you will bring to the company. Don't enter an argument by trying to prove the other person is wrong. Frame it by establishing a shared goal you both want to achieve. Odysseus knew that the person who defines the reality of a situation is the person who controls it. He turned a battle for survival into a nobody problem, and simply walked out the door. Narrator, the second pillar is less glamorous, but infinitely more powerful. Embrace strategic patience. When Odysseus finally returned to his home of Ithaca, after 20 years, he did not find a hero's welcome. He found his palace overrun with over 100 arrogant suitors, all trying to steal his wife, his kingdom, and his son's inheritance. Visuals, Odysseus, disguised as an old, frail beggar, sitting in the corner of his own hall. He observes the suitors feasting, drinking, and mocking him. Narrator, the brute force solution? Announce his return. rally his few loyal servants, and charge into a glorious, but hopeless, final battle. He would have been cut down in minutes. Instead, Odysseus did the hardest thing a warrior can do. He did nothing. He endured insults. He suffered humiliation. He made himself invisible in his own home, gathering information. Who was still loyal? Who was a traitor? What were the suitors' routines? What were their weaknesses? He played the long game, absorbing every detail while his enemies revealed every one of their flaws. Visuals. The famous scene of the archery contest. The suitors all fail to string the great bow of Odysseus. The beggar asks for a turn. Quick cuts of his wife Penelope's face, his son Telemachus's face, and the smirking suitors. Narrator. He waited for the perfect moment, a moment of his own choosing, when the doors were locked, the weapons were hidden, and his enemies were drunk and unsuspecting. He waited until the odds, which were 100 to 1, had been bent, through sheer patience, decisively in his favor. Narrator. In a world that prizes speed, strategic patience is a superpower. It's the understanding that the decisive move is often not the next move, but the one you make after observing the entire board. Don't just react to the fire, understand how it spreads, where the fuel is, and where the wind is blowing. Sometimes, the most powerful action is inaction, while you wait for the perfect moment to strike.
Narrator. The final pillar is the one that earned him his name, Polytropos.
The art of resourceful adaptation. Odysseus's journey was a series of impossible problems, each one unique. And for each, he had to invent a unique solution using only what was at hand. Narrator. How do you defeat an enemy you can't fight? A song that kills you with its beauty? You don't. You change the rules. Odysseus couldn't fill the sea or silence the sirens, so he filled his men's ears with beeswax. A simple, makeshift solution to a supernatural problem, but he also wanted the knowledge the sirens possessed. So he had his men tie him to the mast, tight. He adapted the situation to his needs. He gained the prize, the siren's song, without paying the price, his life. Visuals. A montage of creative problem-solving. A mechanic using a common object as a makeshift tool. A chef substituting an ingredient to save a dish. A coder writing a clever piece of script to bypass a system error. Narrator. This is the essence of ODYSSEAN thinking. It's not about having the right tools, it's about making the tools you have the right ones. It's about looking at a dead end and not seeing a wall, but an ingredient for a new path. Brute force sees a problem and asks, how can I smash it? Intelligence sees the same problem and asks, how can I use it? Visuals. Odysseus stands on the shore of Ithaca, no longer a beggar but a king. The sun rises behind him. The music swells, becoming more hopeful, more triumphant. Narrator. Frame the battlefield. Embrace strategic patience, practice resourceful adaptation. These are not tricks. They are a mindset. A philosophy of survival and success in a complex world. The Trojan War, the Cyclops, the Sirens, these are all just metaphors for the giants in our own lives. The impossible project at work. The overwhelming personal debt. The rival who seems to have all the advantages. The lesson of Odysseus is timeless. The strongest man in the room is still just a man, but the man with a plan, the man who can outthink, outwait, and outmaneuver his obstacles, he can become a legend. Stop trying to break down the door. Learn how to find the key. A new animated diagram appears. It's a more complex, layered version of the first one. The original 3 pillars are now shown as the foundation for a fourth, overarching concept. Narrator. But there is a fourth, hidden pillar, a principle so advanced, it governs all the others. To understand it, we must journey with Odysseus to a place of dark magic. To the island of the witch Circe. Narrator. Circe's power was absolute. She offered her victims food and wine, luring them into a game they couldn't win because they didn't even know they were playing it. Her magic wasn't in the cup, it was in controlling the rules of engagement. Any man who entered her hall and played by her rules, accepting her hospitality, was doomed. A brute force approach would be to attack the witch. A simple cunning approach might be to refuse the drink. Odysseus did neither. He understood the fourth pillar, master the metagame. Visuals. Odysseus meets the god Hermes on a forest path. He is given a sprig of a strange, black and white flower, moly.
He approaches Circe's hall with this new knowledge. Narrator. The metagame is the game about the game. It's not about making the best move on the board. It's about understanding the board itself, the players, and the hidden rules that dictate everything. Before facing Circe, Odysseus got outside intelligence from the god Hermes. He learned the system behind her power, a potion, and was given the specific antidote, a magical herb.
He walked into her hall, played her game, drank from her cup, and nothing happened. He had hacked the system. He didn't just play the game better, he played a different game entirely, one she didn't know existed. Visuals, a modern montage. A lawyer citing an obscure but critical legal precedent in a courtroom. An entrepreneur disrupting an entire industry, not by selling a better product, but by creating a new business model, e.g., subscription versus ownership. A coder using an API in an unconventional way to create a new function. Narrator, don't just ask, how do I win? Ask, what are the real rules here? What does my opponent assume I will do? What external knowledge or tool can I introduce that completely changes the context? To master the metagame is to stop reacting to the reality someone else has created, and to start creating your own. But this level of intelligence comes with a profound warning, a danger that Odysseus himself barely survived. The Odyssey is not just a story of triumph, it's a cautionary tale. Visuals. The music shifts to a more somber, introspective tone. We see Odysseus, alone, weeping on the shores of Calypso's island. He is a king with no kingdom, a husband with no wife, a father with no son. He is the ultimate survivor, and he is utterly alone. Naurrator, the burden of the strategist. Odyssean intelligence is a lonely path. It requires you to see the world differently, to operate on a level that others may not understand. While his men feasted, Odysseus was calculating. While they slept, he was planning. This constant awareness, this need to be 10 steps ahead, can be profoundly isolating.
Worse, it can curdle into a dangerous pride. The Greeks had a word for it, hubris. The arrogant belief that you are smarter than everyone, even the gods.
Odysseus, if any man asks who blinded you, tell them it was Odysseus, sacker of cities. From Ithaca, narrator, it was his greatest mistake. In that single moment of ego, he gave the monster and his father, the god Poseidon, a name to curse. This one act of hubris was the direct cause of the next 10 years of his suffering. His cleverness had saved him, but his pride in that cleverness nearly destroyed him. Visuals. A modern leader making a risky, ego-driven decision against the advice of their team. A genius trader who loses everything on one overconfident bet. Someone so caught up in winning an argument online they alienate friends and family. Narrator. The art of cunning is a tool, not an identity. When you become so attached to being the smartest person in the room, you become blind to your own worst impulses. The ultimate test of Odyssean intelligence is not just knowing how to defeat your enemies, but knowing how to defeat your own ego. It's the wisdom to know when to set the perfect trap, and the humility to know when to just sail away in silence. Visuals. The music begins to swell again, not with triumph, but with a deep, resonant wisdom. We see Odysseus finally home, not as a warrior, but as a husband and father, holding his wife's hand. The lines of hardship are on his face, but there is peace in his eyes. Narrator. So, how do we apply this ancient wisdom today? It begins with a shift in perspective. Look at your greatest challenge. Stop seeing it as a wall to be broken. See it as a system with rules, levers, and players. Frame the battlefield to your advantage. If you cannot win today, embrace strategic patience and win tomorrow. When you lack the perfect tool, practice resourceful adaptation and make one. And always seek to understand the metagame, the rules behind the rules. But most importantly, remember the purpose of the journey. Odysseus's cunning was not for the sake of conquest or glory.
It was all for one thing. Nostos. Homecoming. The ultimate victory isn't just to win the war. It's to find your way home, to your goals, to your values, to the person you are meant to be.
That is the final lesson of the man of many ways. That is the art of cunning. Appearing and then slowly fading away, the screen is black, a single, animated drop of water falls, sending out concentric rings. The visuals are minimalist and diagrammatic. Narrator, we have explored the mindset, the pillars of ODYSSEAN intelligence. Now, we move from philosophy to application. Let's open the toolkit. These are not just stories, they are repeatable strategic models you can deploy. Model 1, the invisibility cloak, is surrounded by gray, indistinct figures. The point of view camera, representing the threat, scans the crowd, passing over the gray figures to focus on the red one. Narrator, in any conflict, the first person to be identified as the primary threat becomes the primary target. The nail that sticks up gets hammered down. Odysseus understood this better than anyone. It's why he named himself Nobody to the Cyclops. It's why he disguised himself as a withered beggar in his own home. He made himself strategically invisible. Narrator, this isn't about being weak, it's about refusing to be a target on anyone's terms but your own. In a toxic work environment, don't engage the office gossip. Become boring, uninteresting, a gray rock. Let the drama flow around you while you plan your next move. When entering a new, competitive field, don't announce yourself as the great disruptor. Enter quietly. Learn the landscape, understand the power dynamics, and build your strength in the shadows. The invisibility cloak is a tool of information asymmetry. You get to see everyone, while no one truly sees you. Control what your opponent knows about you, and you control the game. Narrator, Model 2, choose the necessary hell. On his journey, Odysseus was forced to sail between two mortal dangers: Scylla, a six-headed monster that would eat 6 of his men, and Charybdis, a whirlpool that would swallow his entire ship. There was no third option. No safe passage. Narrator, a leader focused on brute force might try to fight the monster. A panicked leader might freeze and be consumed by the whirlpool. Odysseus, the strategist, made a cold calculation. Losing 6 men was horrific, but losing the entire ship and everyone on board was terminal. He made the gut-wrenching choice to sacrifice a part to save the whole. He steered closer to the monster. Visuals, a modern-day business owner looking at spreadsheets. They drag a failing product line into a virtual trash bin. It's a painful decision, but the company's overall health metric on screen ticks upward. Narrator, this is the heart of difficult leadership and personal growth. You will face impossible choices where every option involves loss. Do you lay off 10% of your staff to save the company from bankruptcy? Do you end a long-term relationship that is no longer healthy, knowing the immense pain it will cause? The ODYSSEAN thinker doesn't wish for a perfect path that doesn't exist. They assess the unavoidable costs, choose the one that preserves the mission, and bear the burden of that choice. They navigate the necessary hell to reach the other side. Visuals, Odysseus's ship, battered but intact, sails away from the cliffside as the sounds of the monster fade. The sun is on the horizon. Narrator, and finally, the most subtle tool in the kit. It's the one that separates a mere tactician from a true master. Model 3, the gift that is a weapon. Visuals, an animation of the Trojan horse being presented to the Trojans. They see it as a beautiful, divine offering. The camera zooms in, and we see the horse's internal structure is filled with hidden soldiers. The gift is a container for the threat. Narrator, the Trojan horse is the ultimate example of this principle. The Greeks couldn't break the walls, so they gave the Trojans a gift so magnificent that the Trojans tore down their own walls to bring it inside. Odysseus understood a fundamental truth of human nature. People are far more willing to accept a gift than they are to accept a threat. He weaponized generosity. He turned an offering into an infiltration device. Visuals, a modern example. A tech company offers a powerful, free software tool. Users adopt it enthusiastically. A cutaway shows the company is collecting massive amounts of user data, which is their true objective. Another example, during a tense negotiation, one party makes a small, genuine concession on a minor point. This act of giving builds goodwill and lowers the other side's defenses, making them more pliable on the major issues. Narrator, Look for opportunities to frame your objective as a benefit to your adversary. Don't demand they open the gates, give them a reason to open the gates themselves. When you want to introduce a major change in an organization, don't present it as a new set of demands. Frame it as a tool that will make everyone's lives easier. The most effective attacks are the ones that are never perceived as attacks at all. They are welcomed with open arms. Visuals. We see the face of Odysseus again, but this time it is older, wiser. The lines around his eyes are deeper. He looks directly at the camera. The music is quiet, intimate. Narrator, the invisibility cloak. The necessary hell. The gift that is a weapon. These are not just strategies for winning, they are tools for surviving. For navigating the sheer, unpredictable chaos of the world. Odysseus was not a god. He was a man. He was often afraid. He made mistakes. He was pushed to the absolute limit of human endurance. His power was not that he was unbreakable, but that he was endlessly adaptable. He teaches us that the world doesn't reward the strongest, the fastest, or the richest. It rewards the one who understands the system, the one who thinks. The challenges will come. The giants and the monsters will appear. You will not have the strongest sword. You will not have an army at your back. You will have only your mind. Make it a weapon. Make it a key. Make it a ship that can weather any storm and guide you home. The screen is black. Then, a complex animation of a human brain ignites with neural pathways firing like lightning. The camera pulls back to reveal the brain is inside a silhouette of Odysseus, who is standing on the deck of a storm-tossed ship. He is holding his head, as if in immense psychological pain. Narrator, we have deconstructed the external strategies, the methods for conquering the world outside. But the most dangerous battlefield Odysseus ever faced was not an island of monsters or a hall of suitors. It was the 6 inches of space between his own ears. It is the internal war. For 20 years, Odysseus was not just fighting to get home. He was fighting despair. He was fighting the temptation to give up. He was fighting the ghost of his own pride. ODYSSEAN intelligence is not complete without its most crucial component, mastering the inner citadel. Visuals. A transition to a dark, spectral realm. The river Styx. Odysseus stands nervously, as shades and spirits of the dead rise from the mist. This is the underworld. Narrator, early in his journey, on the advice of the witch Circe, Odysseus did something no living hero had ever willingly done. He sailed to the edge of the world and descended into the land of the dead. He wasn't there to fight demons or rescue a lost love. He was there for one reason: information. He needed to consult the ghost of the blind prophet, Tiresias, to learn the future. But in that darkness, he was forced to confront his past. He saw his own mother, who had died of grief for him. He saw Achilles, who told him he would rather be a slave on earth than a king among the dead. He saw the ghosts of men he had fought alongside, and men he had failed. Narrator, this is perhaps the most advanced ODYSSEAN model of all: consult the dead. He was literally seeking counsel from those who had gone before. He was learning from past failures, his own and others, to navigate the path ahead. He endured the psychological torment of confronting his worst fears and deepest regrets, not as a punishment, but as a strategic resource. Visuals. A modern montage. A CEO in her office, late at night, reading a biography of a historical leader who faced a similar crisis. A team of engineers running a pre-mortem, brainstorming all the ways their project could fail before they even begin. A person in therapy, confronting a past trauma to understand their present behavior. Narrator, you cannot win the future if you are haunted by an unexamined past. Consulting the dead means having the courage to look at failure, your own, your company's, your industries, and extract the data. It's about seeking mentorship from those who have walked the path before you. It means understanding that every mistake, every ghost of a bad decision, is not a source of shame, but a prophet that can tell you what rocks to avoid on the journey ahead. But confronting the past is only half the battle. You must also control the present. And Odysseus did this with his most versatile tool, his own story. Visuals. Odysseus, now shipwrecked and naked, washes up on the shore of Phaeacia. He is found by the princess Nausicaa. Later, he is in the grand hall of her father, King Alcinous. He is not begging, he is captivating them with the tale of his journey. Narrator: when Odysseus arrived in the land of the Phaeacians, he was a nobody, a shipwrecked sailor with nothing to his name. Brute force was impossible. He couldn't demand their help. Instead, he deployed his final strategic model, the narrative shield. He told them his story, not just a list of events, but a masterfully crafted epic of struggle, loss, and unbreakable will. He framed himself not as a victim, but as a hero favored by the gods and cursed by others. His story was so compelling, so powerful, that it transformed him from a beggar into an honored guest. The Phaeacians didn't just give him a new ship, they loaded it with more treasure than he had originally won at Troy. Narrator: your story is a shield and a key. How you frame your past, your failures, and your ambitions dictates how the world responds to you. People don't connect with resumes, they connect with narratives. Stop just listing your accomplishments. Start telling your story. Control your narrative, and you control the impression you make. Use it to build alliances, to win trust, and to turn potential enemies into your greatest patrons. Visuals: a final, slow zoom on Odysseus's eyes. They are ancient, tired, but sharp as bronze. The neural network animation from the beginning subtly overlays his face. The music becomes a simple, thoughtful piano melody. Narrator: to be a student of Odysseus is to understand that every challenge is layered. There is the physical layer, the strategic layer, and the psychological layer. You must learn the tactics to navigate the world, but you must also learn the discipline to navigate your own mind. Confront your ghosts, but do not become one. Tell your story, but do not get lost in your own legend. The final art of cunning is self-mastery. Because the mind that can deceive a monster, devise a Trojan horse, and endure a decade of wandering is useless if it cannot first master itself. That is the journey. That is the war. And that is the homecoming.